Hey, it's Kevin and Fred. Do you have a referral for us here in Phoenix? There are 30,000 agents here that you could send them to. Why us? Well, for one thing, we'll keep you updated and you'll never have to track down your commission.
We'll also make you look really good to your client. And best of all, it helps us keep all this content free. So go to kevinandfred.com/referral to make the introduction. We'll take great care of them.
All right, we're back with the Kevin and Fred show, and today I'm joined by my friend Jeff Quintin. Jeff, how are you doing today, my man?
Doing well, Kev. Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, thanks for doing this. I'm glad we finally got a chance to get this on the calendar. So, Jeff, let's do this, man. Let's start out. Tell everybody where you're from, kind of what your home market is now. We're going to talk a little bit about expansion because, like my business partner Fred and I, you're one of those weirdos where you've got sales going on in more than one area. But let's talk about home base first, where you're from, and how long you've been in the business, and when you got started.
Sure, no, I appreciate it. So I live and work in Ocean City, New Jersey, which is in southern New Jersey. So if you guys can picture the southern part all the way down towards Atlantic City, that's the area I service as our home market, or hub base market, which is all about 60 miles away from Philadelphia. And that's kind of where our primary of our clients come from. So our business is primarily a secondary resort vacation home market. We service a lot of absentee owners and second homeowners, but we also service the mainland side, which is the primary homeowner side as well. So we cover a very large group, maybe like 40 miles from one island, we call it, to another. We work on an island. So I live and work on an island. So it's only 7 miles long by 1 mile wide, and has a small population year round of about 12,000. So anyway, I live here in southern New Jersey, and been in the business since '92. And then we've expanded outside into other markets, and the primary market we've expanded to is the Outer Banks, North Carolina.
Awesome, man. Well, cool. So that is a really small home market, man. You give me an idea of first of all, let's do this. Actually, as it pertains to your home market, your hub, give me the idea of what's the transaction count you're going through annually, say average of the last couple of years?
Yeah, so our team will average at the hub, each year annually, we're going to be between 175 and 200 units. That's typically what we'll do. We've gotten in the peak markets as much as 260-ish, in the hub, or this local market. The market itself, say Ocean City only does about 2,000, maybe 2,300 sides a year. So we're talking about, there's times we would have 10% market, basically in a small area. Yeah, as far as that. So think about that. It's percentage wise, it's pretty awesome. Very small area. And that's why it's challenging for us, is that for us to go ahead and do a lot more units and more volume, we've got to become very much extroverted and go way outside of our market. So expansion for us to do a lot more is I have to expand, to do a bunch more, because it's just not available for us. It's available, but at the same time, it's the reality of, how much more market share can one take when you have a small area, 19 brokerages, 500 agents all competing. It's very small. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're like the example of, hey, you got your business, you got to be so big. You literally had to go somewhere else to be able to keep growing. I guess theoretically you could go beyond 10%, but that is just such a massive amount of market share. You don't really hear that. I think about, for someone to do that here in Phoenix, my home base, you literally have to be doing 8,000 to 10,000 deals a year to have 10%. That's silly. 10% market share. That's just silly market share, man. How do you build that? So you mentioned you got licensed in '92, right? Is that what you said?
Yep, '92. Yep, right out of high school. I literally what happened was I got into real estate right out of high school. I used to work at a bank, and give you a little background on the story how I got in. I used to go from school, go home, put a nice dress shirt on and a tie, go to the bank, and I'd be there at 3:00. I worked from 3 to 6:37. I worked in the upstairs, the financial loan department, and filing and stuff like that. And then there was an opportunity after I graduated high school. I said, you know what, I'm cooped up in this office. I want to be out in the public. And then they put me on the drive-through. So I became a teller. Back then, the drive-through was that's where you went to cash your checks. And it was, Friday nights, there'd be, the cars would be lined up out to the parking lot and wrapped around. Anyway, in the process of that, I got to meet a lot of broker owners, agents. I got to see them come through in their nice fancy cars, and I'd see their commission checks being cashed. And I was looking at my check, looking at their check, and I'm saying, man, if this guy can do it, I can do this. And got inspired and got my license. And 6 months later, actually not, it wasn't 6 months later, it's about probably a year later, because I failed the test like 4 times getting there, and jumped right in. That's how it went.
That's awesome. I didn't know you had that banking background. I was a teller too.
Were you?
Right after high school. Yeah. So I don't know why I had no business having a job with that kind of detail. But anyways, I digress. So so that's pretty cool. So you get started then in 92. I mean, how do you're a kid. I mean, you're a kid when you start. How did you start building your business? Where did you find deals when you're that young?
So, I share this story, and if I'm teaching market centers or wherever, and this is kind of how it kind of goes. Basically, I mean, at age 19, back in the early 90s, there wasn't a lot of young real estate agents. Today, there's a ton of them, right? But so it was more of a veteran, established type of older agents that all the brokerages had. So I went to one brokerage, and actually the brokerage I wanted to work for, and they were like 45, 50% market share in Ocean City. So they were the dominant player. Like, everybody wanted to work there. I went there, there's 2 owners there. And one had said, yes, I'll hire him. The other one said, no, he's too young, doesn't have experience. And so they were going to get back to me, but one said yes, one said no. I ended up leaving, go to another small little brokerage that hired me on the spot. And I was working there at nights and trying to get some things going. And then a week later, the other first brokerage called me back and said, okay, we'll take you. We're going to put you all the way down at the south end of the island. So went down there, started, jumped right in. And basically, I learned fairly quickly, the manager that was there was pretty supportive and said, hey, look, you know what, you're young and you don't really have a database, right? I didn't have a center of influence list. So what I did was I said, well, I don't really know anybody. I know my college or my high school friends, right? And they're all in college and they're not buying any houses. So I said, but here's what I do know. I know all my friends' parents. So I took my yearbook, right? And literally went through my yearbook, went to the white pages at the time, and went through and got all their phone numbers. And I started prospecting, started picking up. That was my center of influence list. It was my freaking high school yearbook. So I'd call them and say, hey, it's Jeff. I got into real estate. Remember me? I'm friends with your son, your daughter, whatever. And, do you have any interest in real estate? Like, whatever. And that was my script or whatever. So my very first listing was a girlfriend of mine that I was friends with. Her dad owned an investment property in town outside of their primary home. Listed that. And then I ended up getting a buyer call on that, and that buyer ended up buying that, and then ended up listing that buyer's home, and that just snowballed. But it all started from a yearbook. So when people say to us, I don't know anybody, whatever, I mean, there's a database out there. Literally, we used to go and take white pages of a phone book, and we would actually just call through the phone book, like literally start at the A's and go through, or go from the in our area code, the prefix is 399. We would do 609, 399, 1000, 399, 1001, 1002. We just dial each number and just randomly call numbers. That's what we did.
Dude, wow. That is, first of all, that's gangster. I love that story. Literally taking the yearbook. I also love the piece of like, just get the prefix and then just start dialing a number, then the next number and the next number. I mean, so obviously let me ask you this. So when you're that, you're kind of early on in your career, you've got at least a little rapport, a little bit to go in with the, I'll call it the yearbook parents, right? But on the white page stuff and the stuff where you're just dialing numbers, are you looking for people that are looking to do something right now? Or are you looking for people to add to your database, or both? I mean, what was that like?
So in the beginning back then, I didn't really know either way. Like, I didn't even know what a database was, right? That's all it was. It was just a way that, hey, we just knew that right now. I didn't know many people, and I just got to find it. I had to go create the opportunity. And then from there, just asking the right questions. But one thing I learned in the beginning was, so my manager, he said to me, he goes, okay, so, call your database or call your yearbook or whatever, try to find out who you know. That was number one. And then from working at the bank, I kind of knew some business owners, so I'd call them a little bit from the center of influence of that. That was that. The next thing that I did, though, was he was real big on expires. Or he said, I think you should call it expired listings. So at the time, back then, the expireds are only published once a month. And then you had to go to like the board office to pick up a list of the expireds. And the MLS book was like an inch thick. And it would publish the MLS book and all the expireds in the back. And then you have to come back and then do all the research. There wasn't the internet back then. So it wasn't like you could look up a phone number online. So we did the research and call that. And then my manager said, well, here's a script, file the script. And it was an old Floyd Wickman Sweat Hog script, if you guys remember that back in the day. and it was just an expired script. So I got on the phone and I would just go to the expire, I would just read the script. And what was cool is, I mean, literally in like the first 2 months after doing it, I ended up getting like 14 listings in a month. I crushed it with listings. Like I was just listing, but I didn't know what I was doing. I would just go list something and at whatever price. I just was just listing everything. And but the challenge was that I would actually go out on the appointments. I could get the appointments. I didn't have a problem, calling and getting appointments. The problem was I'd show up and I had this baby face, 19 years old. And then the clients were like, who are you? Like, looking over my shoulder, like, where's your dad? And I wouldn't be able to get the contract signed. So there's many times that I got a lot of contracts signed, but there's many I didn't. I'd come back to the office and I would simply just tell the manager, like, I went on the appointment, but they thought I was too young or unexperienced. He goes, all right, well, you got to become better scripted. And he said, look, what you got to do is really master these scripts. Let's look at the objections. So he taught me this early. And from there, what I learned was that I have to make sure that my script, I'm so well scripted that before I go out on the appointment, that 90% of it's already done. Like it's 90% preparation, 10% execution, so that I could just go out and already have it so well scripted and pre-programmed and send all my pre-packet information to them and just go out and then close for the signature. So that's what I've adopted since still to this day, especially what we're going through now with over the phone and Zoom presentations. I've been doing this for a long time, with presenting over the phone, if you will, or with absentee owners.
That's, I'm glad you said that. So obviously you and I, so we're recording this right now and we're in the middle of, stay-at-home orders in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. But I mean, let's go backwards a couple months before this started. Like, were you still like prepared in the same way? Like, do you still believe like, hey, 90% of your work is done before you actually get to that appointment?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. I mean, we're sending out a pre-listing package by email, dropping it off if necessary, a why hire me video, our market analysis, our listing agreement, all the documents ahead of time. Everything's prices in what we suggest, net sheet, like everything is being sent to them ahead of time. If we have to go face to face, it's all being dropped off or sent by email as well. If it's over the phone, everything has been being sent to them by email, so that when we call and follow up, and it's just, did you have a chance to review the information and what price do you want to go ahead and get started? And we've already docu-signed the agreement. Let's just modify that price and get it back to us. So
wow,
yeah,
dude, that's solid. So
that's how we've been doing it.
So you started building your business that way and just kind of kept going through, like crushing it on the phone and then building. I'm assuming that eventually you realized you did have a circle of influence, right? You have these people that became, clients, and they became probably repeat clients and referral sources for you. Give me an idea today, when you look at your business, how much of that is repeat referral and versus how much of it is new prospecting?
So it's a mix. I mean, the major portion of our business now is the three. It's past clients, centers of influence, and referrals from that group. That all right there represents about 55%. So if I combine all that together, agent to agent referrals, like inbound agent referrals, is another strong one. And then, which is about maybe another 10-ish%. And then the rest of it's going to be expires and just listed, just solds, and, a couple other little things, buyer stuff, that's inquiries and things like that. But it's about 65% listing driven, 35% buyer sales.
So when I got a question for you, because we've always done a lot of agent to agent referrals as well. And mine and you, like our paths initially crossed at Keller Williams when I was there. We were in the same mastermind together. When you are generating these agent to agent referrals, are you being like purposeful about maybe you mentioned like you're only 60 miles from Philadelphia. Like, are you networking with certain agents in certain areas where there's a high concentration of people that come to your area, or is it just kind of your natural network that you've built over the years in the industry?
It's a combination of both. I mean, naturally, because of the reputation of that natural referrals that come in, but very purposeful for putting agents in campaigns and educating them on what we're doing, and reaching out to them directly. We have also what we call as a referral rewards program. So when somebody actually sends us a referral, we're going to reward them with a Starbucks card and say, thanks so much for referring. Referrals are the lifeblood of our business. Have a coffee on us. Once it closes, we then send them a Johnson's popcorn thing, which is localized here from our boardwalk, wrapped in cellophane. It's a branded tin that gets into their office. So it shows up at their office. It's a nice presentation. So they get that and they like that. So we are a little purposeful. We reward them. We set them up. And we reach out, and I've got campaigns that are always communicating to them. I mean, all the time.
That's real smart, man. That's real smart. I think especially in a market like yours where it's so much driven with second homes and vacation rentals and, or vacation rentals and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, for us, what we did is, I mean, the agents in our region are outside, let's say the Philadelphia area, greater Philly agents, that's where our clients come from. So they have our clients already. In their databases, typically, who they're working with them as a primary home, and then we're training them to ask also, hey, do you have a second home at the shore? We call it at the shore, the beach. So do you have a second home at the shore? And they say, great. Well, I thought about selling that as well. We're buying an additional property. I got an agent down there that can refer to. So we try to train them when part of their scripting is always asking about, do they own another home? And then vice versa. We have now, there's obviously. Our database is all secondary homeowners. And if we find someone here that we say to them, okay, I understand you want to sell your home here at, 123 Banana Street in Ocean City, but have you given any thought about selling your home at, 123 Apple Street in Philly? Well, I have thought about it. Great. Well, I've got either an expansion partner there, or I've got an agent that I refer to there as a preferred agent. We'll go ahead and get them to call you. And so that back and forth, outbound and inbound referrals for that market.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Something, just appeared to me or, dawned on me is obviously you've been in the market a while. You've probably done a really great job at staying in touch with your clients. I know for a fact, just because the statistics, right? Most real estate agents don't. So I would imagine there's people that might have been referred to you 20 years ago. They don't know their original agent that referred them to you initially anymore. And so they're looking, or maybe that person's not even in the business anymore. So I can see how those people are probably looking for help, and how that would be another whole income source for your business by doing those outbound referrals for where your vacation, owners live.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's part of a strategy every year. It's how many inbound or outbound can we, it's a smaller part of the business, but it's still a good chunk of it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I love how too, you talked about kind of training your referral partners around how to ask, and because, it's a win-win. They're making more money that way. You're making more money that way. And also make sure that both agents, end up looking good to the client, which is important.
Yeah, for sure.
Very cool. So, okay. So let's go into expansion a little bit. So you mentioned the Outer Banks, right? Is that what you said? Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me about that part of your business.
Yeah, so the Outer Banks is it's also a secondary vacation resort market, and it's in North Carolina, and it's an island, so it's very similar to the hub. It's natural for me to be able to learn and work and be able to speak the language of a resort market. So that was brought to me through one of our prior expansion directors. Is an opportunity that independent company that's been there established for 40 years. They actually have 5 offices because they do a lot of vacation rentals. We didn't take over the vacation rental side. We ended up going to this company, it's independent, called Resort Realty, and merging with them and taking over their sales division side. So the company before, or the management leadership before, inside of it, kind of took their eye off the ball on the sales side. And so some agents were leaving, and they were leaving to other brokerages and stuff coming in, and they needed some help. So this opportunity came along, and I said, well, we'd love to be able to look at it and expand down there. So ultimately, today, we started in September, and now it's April of 20. We manage more or less, expanded with 21 agents in the Outer Banks, and we occupy 2 offices of the 5. So we have basically operates like a mega agent office, more or less, but there's 2 of them. And then there's the market center of KW that sits outside of that, and we kind of run independent of it, like any mega agent office does. We're looking to build that right now a lot, and bringing the systems and models and our coaching and training and sources into that market, and really grow it like we know how to do from here.
All right. So tell me about this, Jeff, because I don't get to talk to many agents who also run an expansion business, but what is having a team and agents outside of your home market kind of taught you, and what are some of those lessons you've come across now that you've been doing this?
Well, there's there's a lot of lessons, and we've gone, this was a little bit different model because it was an independent, and we came in and took over another office, right? So it wasn't like we expanded with just one or two agents in another location. So these guys are a little bit different because they're already on a higher split. They're all independent, right? So they're all doing their own thing. They have their own branding. They have their own everything. So what we've decided right now, in at least the first year, is we're not going to mess around with a lot of their ways. We're coming in, empowering their business and giving them a CRM and giving them some tools and the coaching and training to get their production up, to a higher level. So this model is a little bit different per se. And other areas we've expanded to, I mean, some things that I've learned is you got to make sure that if you go to a different market, that the average sales price is one that which has to be profitable, right? So that the agent can make the right amount of money and we can make the right amount of money. I think it all comes back down to making sure that you're also leading with somebody who's going to buy into your systems, and they're going to run with your leads, and they're going to adapt to what your expectations are and making all those expectations and standards up front. Because you want to be able to take what you do at the hub that that's proven and works and duplicatable and go to somewhere else. But then if you don't have that right partner that doesn't buy into it, they look up 6 months from now and you've wasted money, and you're like, this guy isn't cutting it, whatever it may be. And that's happened a bunch, right? So we've learned a lot in that. And we've been successful as well, but it takes the right person in setting up those expectations in the beginning. So average sales price is important. Also understanding that there's a minimum number of transactions that partner has to do every year. They may only be doing, say 10, which is okay, but yet, for us to make this work, they got to be doing 24, right? They got to go to 2 a month. And, how quickly can we get them to go there? Well, if they're not buying in and doing all the things needed and changing their habits, that might take them 3 years. Well, 3 years is a long time. 3 years is a long time of them not making the amount of profit, and we're not making the amount of profit needed because we know that there's a certain number based upon a certain sales price, number of transactions that need to happen, right? So, like for us, someone at 250,000 average sales price or below, unless they're doing the minimum of 2 transactions a month, it's going to be very hard for them to make money and for us too. If somebody's doing, say, 300 to 350 or $400,000 average sales price, well, at that point, okay, we can then say, well, you know what? They can do 1 a month. That's okay because we know that the volume would be there and the profitability would be there, even though they're doing less transactions. We can. So that's one important piece that we've learned along the way. Obviously, looking at that when you expand to a location, you got to go with multiples. You can't go with just one person. All of a sudden, you go with one, and then you start pumping money into it and supporting them. And then a year from now, if they bounce, you've done all that work. You've built the website, the CRM, and all that good stuff, and yet you've done it all for nothing. So when you're expanding, I'd suggest expand with at least 2, possibly even 3 in one location in case one bounces, or you they self-select out, then at least you have 2 there. So just a couple things that come off the top of my head.
Yeah, man, those are all good things. All, definitely all lessons that we've learned too. And, especially in expansion like that, you mentioned that average price point that matters. You can only split $1 so many times, right?
Right. For sure.
Yeah. Everyone's got to be able to make, and, it's kind of like, I learned it from one of my coaches, John Cheplack. He always said, everyone's got a right to earn a profit, the agent and the team. And so it's got to be able to work out. You got to be able to pencil that out. If it's going to truly be win-win at the end of the day. So definitely a good, something good there to think about. Let me ask you this, man. So here we are, it's 2020. You've seen right, we alluded to it earlier, we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? Stay-at-home orders, all that stuff. Markets changed for a lot of people over the last 6 to 8 weeks. It's scaring a lot of people. That's for sure. I know a lot of agents around the country that I'm talking to that are, quite frankly, they're scared. They don't know what to do. They think the world's kind of coming to an end as it pertains to their business. Dude, you've been in the business now for a while, since 92. So you've seen some ups and downs. What's your perspective on this? What's your take? Not necessarily just on what's going on right now, but what to do to be able to make sure we're still here in a few months.
Well, I guess a couple things. I mean, what should we be doing right now? I mean, there's several different things. We study this with our team, but you've got to study the market more than ever, right? So I think the one is really understand look at the numbers, concentrate on what's selling, what's going under contract, what part of the market's moving, what part of the market's not. You got to become the economist of the market, so that when someone asks you how is the market doing, you can answer to where the market is or what's going on. I think that's important to know. I think that right now, more than ever, from the consumer and also to your database, is that we've got to speak in confidence, right? Like we have to, whatever we're talking about, even though we're uncertain right now, we've got to speak with confidence and be able to portray that we know a direction, or at least give a direction of some sort to a client, or what's going on, even though we don't know. And it's okay to say, well, it's uncertain or it's a wait and see game. However, you got to give some guidance on all of that right now. So speaking with confidence is going to be the key. Getting back, in your database, like really getting back in your database and connecting with it more than ever. And if you haven't done that, you got to do it. If you haven't built your database, you got to do it. Your center of influence list, from little things like just if you haven't done it, take your address book out of your phone and export out all your contact lists, your address book, put it in Excel and upload that. Like that becomes your database. Everybody's got 1,000 people in there. It's time to build mind share and build off of what you know and who you know for 90 days out. Like this isn't going to be right away. I think it's 90 days, it's 6 months, it's a year from the activities that you do now. Gamify things, right? Like, so I mean, how can you create some games or with your database or engage them? We just did this and we were just featured. It was pretty cool today. I don't know if you've seen it yet, but at Ninman, we did nominate your favorite nurse or doctor. So part of this was we did the nominate your favorite nurse or doctor. We were able to get over 76 people to register. Then once we delivered lunch, we asked them to provide us an email list and names of who was on her ward. So we got another like 20. So there's about 100 new people that we got to our database. And then we're gonna and we had a flyer done and says, look, if anybody needs any help with real estate, we offer Homes for Heroes program, buying and selling, whatever. We want to be your go-to person. And so we're just rolling this out right now, right? So it's just kind of the market of the moment, and gamified a little bit, got engagement in the community, and we rolled out. So next thing we're going to do is the teachers next. One other thing that we're going to do right now, we talked about on our team meeting today, is how do we gamify and get everybody database? So either doing a virtual bingo, trivia game, sidewalk chalk, like whoever can decorate our logo the best on the sidewalk for their kids, take a picture, and whoever gets the most likes is going to win dinner for the family. Just little things like that, right? All these, and that's like, these are things that we did back when the market shifted, and we've been through different shifts that caused us to build our database and then drip on it and then feed it. So those are just some ideas that we could be doing right now. You got to make sure that you're tracking your outbound calls right now, and we're tracking right now the Zoom set meetings and Zoom held meetings. Right, that's now one of our we use Sisu, and inside Sisu, we now put that in our metrics. Every day, our agents have to report how many Zoom appointments did you set, how many Zoom appointments did you go on. So these are just some of the things. We're just ramping things up. We're not doing here's the thing. We're not doing right now just one thing. We're doing a lot of little things in a lot of ways. And together, it's creating opportunities and deals.
Yeah, man, it's like this. It's a snowball, right? Like all this stuff starts snowballing effect. It all adds on top of each other. And man, I got to tell you, I absolutely love your nominate the nurse and doctor idea there, as well as taking that in with the teacher. Super brilliant way of adding to your databases while simultaneously and more importantly giving back to your community. That's a brilliant idea, man. I love that.
It's cool. I mean, it's worked. I mean, we're getting, it's overwhelming. Like the DMs I'm getting, like people that know this nurse, and just, it's cool. It's been a good last, because this all happened yesterday. So it's been the last 24 hours.
That's pretty cool. I think I saw you mention that in one of the Facebook groups, a real estate agent Facebook group. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go share that with our Facebook group, Next Level Agents, as well. Because it's so smart. It's such a good way to get out there and give back to your community. just this morning, somebody was asking about a way to do that amongst what's kind of going on right now in this moment in time. So that's brilliant. Well, man, so
I mean, and I'll give you one other idea, and not to cut you off. Just one thing that we talked about today was, okay. So we said what's one other thing that we can do that can help? Well, business owners right now are struggling, and this whole thing about the PPP and the EIDL and the SBA, and it's a lot of uncertainty. Like, how does it work? So we talked about today is we're going to go find an expert, and then get that expert to join us on Zoom, and I'm going to go out to all our business owners and invite all them to it and be the host of it, ask questions, interview the guy. And because every business owner right now, including me, I don't understand it, how it works. Like, I haven't gotten any money yet. Right? We put the application in, but is it forgivable? How much is not? How much when it becomes I don't know, all the questions, right? And so that would, one other thing we're gonna do. Like, I just think of people right now, agents right now have to think about, what's the problem in the market? How can we solve it? Or how can we contribute? And at the same time, build mind share to be the go-to resource in all of this.
Yeah, gosh, man, I love that. That's such you boiled it down, man. It's no wonder you've had the amount of success that you've had, because you were able to boil down really the key to this business in just that last couple of sentences. So I really appreciate you sharing that with us. We're running up on the top of the hour. I know I've got to go to an appointment. You do as well. But before we do that, is there what's something I should have asked you that I haven't? And what's maybe something that just on your heart that you love to share with other agents you want people to know about or think about?
Well, I think that right now, I think there's a lot of agents that haven't adjusted, haven't adhered, haven't adapted to what's going on. And this isn't a staycation. This isn't going away like anytime soon. It's longer than what we think. These agents have to get their heads out of the rear, right, or out of the sand. They have to. I mean, but there's a major portion that are scared, like you mentioned earlier, that just don't know. I'm fearful of those. So those agents that are out there, when rather than exit out of the business, which is going to be a major portion of them, think about joining a team or a leader that kind of is guiding their team. Like, I think the team right now is something that those agents need to consider. That's just my outlook. I just do it, right? Because they can help support what someone has experience, like you and I, that have been around and say, been there before, we understand. I mean, the REO world, the short sale world, is that coming back? It probably is, right? That's another source we can get into. But like, there's different things that are going on. So number one is agents right now have to look up, and they have to build their database more than ever and get that clear. They have to learn the scripts, right? They have to learn what to say so they can build the confidence. If they don't know what to say, confidence isn't there. So if there ever was a time to learn what to say, it's now. Take the time. Like, now more than ever, you can work on your business than in it, because you have the time. Like, no one here is late for anything anymore, right? You don't have to be anywhere other than a Zoom, right? So that's the thing. Like, take the time right now to work on those things you haven't worked on. There's sources. I mean, there's still going to be expired listings that expire that looking for a seller. For sale owners are in la la land right now. They need help, right? There's there's going to be more pre-foreclosures or notice of default going to happen, right? Those people need you got to learn what to say and how to convert them, right? I mean, there's so much opportunity out there right now that if agents can just look up a little bit, take advantage of it, because I think that we've always said before, forever, it's the 20-80 rule, right? Where 20% of the agents sell 80%. And I always believe it's 10-90, 10% sell 90. And then it was even like 5 to 95, which is probably true. It's going to even be more. It's going to be 3% sell 97%. Like, it's just going to happen.
Yeah, man, I can see it. I agree with you. I think, unfortunately for the people that do have their head in the sand, there's a rude awakening coming. It's been so, I don't want to say it's been easy, but in a lot of ways, it's been easy for so long. And now we're going to have to double down and triple down probably on our skills. And, it might take 3 times as many phone calls and appointments to get to a signed contract or a closing than it did 2 years ago. And there was a lot of people that were just barely skating by then. that if they don't ramp up their technical ability, their skills, knowing what to say, like you mentioned with scripts, then they're going to find themselves in a new profession here pretty soon, unfortunately.
And the challenge is who's going to pay them and who's going to hire them. I mean, with unemployment, like,
Yeah.
that I feel bad, but it comes down to how bad do they want it, and are they willing to pay the price to get it? And if they're not, then unfortunately it's not, I don't know. Just being real, man.
I think that's tell me what you think, but I think that's always the case, but now it's magnified, right? And now there's some real stakes, like, because to your point, who's going to hire him? Like a year ago, even 6 months ago, yeah, you could just go out and get hired. Like I had a good buddy who, now he's not in real estate sales. But he is in sales. He got a great opportunity in the title world, right? With a nice, what I thought was a pretty darn good guarantee and the ability to grow big time on the upside. That's gone, man. Like, there's just not, you can't go do that tomorrow like you could have 6 months or a year ago. Like that's gone. And so he's effectively started over. And so, a lot of other people are who end up getting out of this industry. They're going to have a hard time finding something that is a real opportunity for them. And so you might as well just dig into what you're at, where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, make it work. I think we're blessed because, see, whether the market's going like this upward or the market's going downward, we can make money in a great booming market. Or we can make money in a market that's not as good, right? Or it's declining, or things are shifting. I mean, either way, we have an opportunity because people have to always sell, have to always buy. It just depends on what side and how we do it. We might have to shift our tactics or shift our sources. But I think if you always go back to the basics of learning what to say and how to say it, you've got good work ethic and you're willing to learn how to present and be a salesperson, that's not going to go out of style.
Yeah, man, I couldn't agree more. Jeff, man, I really appreciate your time in this conversation. It was refreshing and uplifting too in a lot of ways. And I just love learning from true professionals like yourself who have done this and continue to go out and make it happen every day. So I just want to personally say thanks a lot for doing this.
No, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate all of it. You and Fred are doing and everything on your podcast, and glad to be part of it, man.
Awesome. Well, hey, everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's episode with Jeff Quintin. I know I did. And if you haven't yet, pause the episode now and go out and start doing your favorite healthcare worker, favorite doctor, favorite nurse, favorite teacher. Go reward somebody in your community and give back to them while building your list. That's something that I took away from this conversation that I'm going to go put into play right away. So, Jeff, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Jeff. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.